Occasionally, we have reports of eBells that have stopped working. Typically, this is because the cable has become unseated or because the cable has broken through repeated bending. This video shows how to reseat the cable to try and get the bell working again, and if necessary, how to replace the cable. Let's start by disassembling the bell. To do this, you need an Allen key, 8mm, and you need to loosen the bolts which hold the plastic in place. Okay, once the plastic is off, then you can loosen the cable and you can pull it out from the mouth of the bell. The bolts are screwed into two nuts, which are pushed into the other side of the handle. You'll probably find that these nuts are held in securely, but if they fall out, put them to one side so we can use them later. There's a USB socket glued into the bell, so you should be able to gently pull the cable out. The first thing to test is whether the problem exists because of the seating of the cable. So try carefully putting the cable back in. It's a tiny bit fiddly, but you have to put the cable in the mouth of the bell and then gently push down with either a pair of tweezers or long-nosed pliers to seat the cable. Once the cable is in place, then test whether it's working. I'm using Gamepad Tester, which is a website which gives you feedback on whether the bell's transmitting position data as well as button data. If you're lucky and the cable, it was just a seating problem, then all's good and you can skip to the later chapter in this video which shows you how to reassemble the bell. However, if you still have no signal, you need to move on to how to put a new cable in. Okay, so what we include with our bell is a rubber sleeve which protects the cable, and around that rubber sleeve we put a piece of heat shrink which keeps things together because the rubber sleeve is split. So watching your fingers, the first thing you need to do is cut the heat shrink off. And once the heat shrink is cut off, you should be able to remove the rubber sleeve and just put it to one side. Okay, then the old cable can be discarded and new cable can be brought in. Now, you've got two options here. We can provide you with a piece of heat shrink, or you may have a piece of heat shrink available. If that's the case, then you need to put the heat shrink onto the cable before assembling things, because you won't get it over the thick end of the cable. It just won't fit over, so you need to put it before you assemble onto the thin end of the cable and push it out of the way. Now you might decide you don't want to use heat shrink. It's only there to keep the rubber sleeve together, in which case that's fine. You can put a bit of tape around it, a bit of black tape to hold it in place. Okay, once you've got the sleeve on, then you need to push the cable into the mouth of the bell, align it with the USB socket, and then either using tweezers or thin nose pliers, just push the cable down so it clicks. Then we can test whether the cable is working. So as previously in the video, I'm using Gamepad Tester here, plugging it in. The PC is recognizing the bell is functioning, and I can confirm that data is being sent down. And when I press the buttons, the button data is being received. So I've now got a new cable connected to the bell. I'm then going to refit the grommet. So the grommet has a split in it, so I'm just carefully positioning it on the cable, and then I'm making sure it's the right way round and that it sits in the groove in the handle, and then I'm making sure the cable's slightly slack as well, so it's pushed a bit against the inside of the handle. Okay, and then you can either use the heat shrink, or if you're deciding to put tape around it, put tape around it. So here in the video, I'm using the heat shrink. So to shrink the tape, I'm just using a heat gun I got off Amazon, but you can use a hairdryer or you can use a flame. You need to take care that you don't melt the bell itself, so make sure the heat's directed away from the bell. Yeah, you can push the rubber down away from the bell to reduce the risk of that happening. Once the cable is in position, you can position it in the bell, put the plastic grommet back in, and tighten up the screws. And now we have a working eBell.